Saving for anything can be difficult, especially if you've not got a high paying job. Well, saving for a business can be even harder because it's not a small amount of money and it can take a long time to do it. Well, I'm happy to say there are some really cool and creative ways to help get you started and hopefully continue saving towards that end goal of finally starting that business. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Michael J. I build 6 and 7 figure businesses, and it is my passion and calling in life to teach as many people how to do the same thing. And in this video, I'm going to show you a strategy and the steps along the way to help you save to start that business. So before I get into the strategies, I really want to reiterate that this is not going to be easy. It's going to require a lot of lifestyle changes and a lot of discipline to make this work. And if you're not ready to do that, then there's really no point starting. And the only difference between those that have made it successful and those that don't are the ability to be disciplined in the way you live your life and in turn save money. Because I've known people who are on 25k per year who have been able to save 10, 20, 30 grand in a few years. But then I've known people on 50k a year that don't have a penny to their name because they're just not disciplined enough to change their lifestyle and live within the means which allows them to save. So yeah, this video is not a magic pill that's going to solve all your problems overnight. This is a strategy that you're going to have to implement, get used to, and stay disciplined with. But if you're willing to do that and make lifestyle changes, then if I can do it, you can do it too. So if you feel like you're ready, let's jump into the next step, which is all about confirming how much you need to start that business, which is a really obvious step, but it's one that's going to set the stage for this entire strategy. And this is where your business plan is going to come into it. I've touched upon that on a few videos. I touched upon it on my last video if you want to go check that out. But your business plan is going to detail all of the financials in there, or it should at least. And something just to keep in mind here is that it's not just the costs to get that business up and running. It's the business costs ongoing as well, because your business is probably not going to make that much money in the first 6 to 12 months. So you're going to need money to help keep you afloat and obviously to help make sure that you can live. So as an example for this video, let's just use 30k. You're going to need 30k to get your business up and running and to make sure you can be sustained for 12 to 18 months. So now we have our target, we can move on to the next step, which is all about calculating your income and expenditure so we know what we're working with on a monthly basis. And what this is going to do for us is give us a baseline to be working from, but we need to be realistic here and not kind of manipulate the figures, right? We need to include absolutely every single thing that we know is coming in, but more importantly, what's going out, because I see people do this exercise and they miss out the odd 20 quid here, 30 quid there, and that can really add up and it can mean the difference of being able to do this or not. Because to make this strategy work, we need to be working with absolutes. There's no, oh, it's kind of this, or I think it's that. No, we need to know the exacts, and you can work that out by looking in your bank. And then what we need to be doing with all that is actually writing it down, which is something else where I see a lot of people go wrong because they kind of skip past that and it's almost kind of out of sight, out of mind. But we need to know what we're working with. So you need to write all your income down, all your expenditure, and then what we've got at the end of that. So I'm going to give you a few examples of outgoings just to get you going with this. So obviously we need to get our monthly living expenses there, which is the absolute things that we need to live on a baseline. So things to include in that are your house, so your rent or your mortgage, any car payments that you've got, whether you've got a loan on it and you've got your insurance and tax, etc. Petrol, food, and any kind of really needed utility bills. And something that a lot of people miss from this list to add on to that are things like Netflix. Have you got a YouTube monthly outgoing, $11.99 I think it is for the premium. Any little thing like that you think, oh, I'll just leave that, it's only 10 or 15 quid. We need it all in there because, again, as mentioned before, we need the absolutes because we need to know what we're working with. And with income, of course, this is pretty simple. It's not going to be as much as the outgoings, but obviously if you've got a job, you need to know that. Any kind of rent payments, if you've got any rental properties out there, any side hustles or second jobs that you've got, you need to include that. You might even include some child benefit payments or something like that. Any kind of things that are coming into your bank, include it on this list. Okay, so now we've done that, let's use another example. So we used 30k in the last step as a goal for setting up our business. For this example, let's say we earn 2k per month, and let's say we have 1,750 going out of our accounts, meaning we have 250 quid remaining. And this is where we get really realistic, and reality slaps us in our face, because we're now going to know how much it would take us to save that 30k. So we know we've got 250 quid a month. All you're going to do is divide 30k, which will give us the amount of months we need to save that. And then we're going to divide that by 12 to show us how many years it's going to be. Now, if you calculate that, it will come to approximately 10 years to save up to start that business of ours, which is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't think there's anyone on this planet who could stay that disciplined. I'm sure there'll be a few, but 99% of people on this planet will not be able to do that, because that is a long-term saving strategy. And just take an example of saving up for a holiday for 1 year. I know a lot of people that do that because they don't have enough money just to buy it straight off the bat. And I know a lot of people really struggle even doing that for 1 year. So imagine doing it for 10 years. Man, I don't even think I could do that. And I'm very disciplined when it comes to money management. So we can either do that and save up for the next 10 years, or we can create strategies and take some steps to help us get there quicker, which is going to lead us on to the next step, which isn't necessarily saving as such. It's more of a strategy to help cut our costs so we can save more. So this step is all about reducing our living expenses wherever possible so we can save more. And this is the thing that I was talking about at the beginning of the video. This is the strategy or the step that's going to be the most difficult, because it's going to require a lot of discipline. So it's not only going to require a lot of discipline to save, but this is going to require a lot of discipline to cut the cost to enable you to save more. And take it from a business coach that's worked with over 250 business coaching clients at this point, and everyone really struggles to do this. Everyone overspends. They like to buy nicer cars, they like to go on holiday, like to buy takeaways, whatnot, every single week, and they like to go out for meals with their partners and whatnot. So I get it, I'm the same, and I really struggled doing this when I really needed to do it, but it is definitely possible as long as you're willing to make that lifestyle change. And I want to give you a few more examples like I did in the last step, just to get you going with it and just to get your mind thinking around some of these things, because you may not know how to do this, right? It's not easy cutting living costs, especially you're getting used to a certain amount of living and things, and you might think you need a lot of these things when really you don't. You can cut probably a lot out. So the first thing is definitely cutting out takeaways. This is a big one. I don't know one person who doesn't get takeaways more than once a week. And I know it's a luxury. I get it. I like getting takeaways as well, but we're trying to make a change in life. So these little pleasures, they're going to have to go. And if you work it out between you, your partner, and if you've got kids, it might work out to 40, 50, 60 quid a week, which could be the make or break of this entire thing. Because if you can save an extra 200 quid a month, you can cut that 10 years probably almost in half. So really, really, really important is that one. And something very closely linked to that is going out for meals and drinks. Now, I'm not recommending you just cut this out totally, because that would be an absolute killer. You're going to need some pleasure in there. So you're going to need to choose one or the other, actually. I would recommend just going out for a meal once a month as a bare maximum, or getting a takeout maximum a few times a month. So just choose from one of those, choose which one you want to get rid of, but it can't be both, and you're going to have to reduce both of them anyway. Another one is to exchange expensive foods that you might be used to for cheaper ones. So as an example for that, do you have salmon a lot and prawns? Do you have steaks? Well, you're not really supposed to be doing that if you're looking to save, because they're expensive things. Reduce that to chicken, turkey, or even mincemeat. For example, you can make chilies, and this one is going to be a big one because you're used to the food. You've probably been eating the same foods for years and you're used to a certain level of quality. But again, this can be a game changer. You might even be able to save 20-30 quid a week just on this, which again is an absolute game changer. And another, which I briefly touched upon a few minutes ago, is getting rid of any unwanted small monthly recurring payments. A few of those might be the YouTube one I mentioned, Netflix. I know someone who had Adobe running for around 2 years and never used it, and it's only, I think, 8 quid a month. But again, it all adds up. If you've got 3 or 4 of these things, it can add up to 30-40 quid a month, can make a big difference. And a final example I'm going to give you, and this is a big one and you might cringe at it, but at the end of the day, this can make a huge difference and you can save hundreds a month on this potentially, which is to get rid of your car and use other modes of transport. Obviously there's buses and trains, but if you can, using a bike, which I know is a huge lifestyle change, but they do have the electric bikes now, so you don't necessarily need to be really fit to do this. As long as you get a really good one, once you sell your car, you might have a few grand spare. You can put a grand and a half in a really good electric bike, and it's basically like a little moped anyway, and you don't need to put much effort in. Okay, so let's say you've done that now, and before you had 250 quid a month spare. Let's say we can now save an additional 150 quid because we've done all of the removing as much as we can, and so we can save 400 quid because now we've got an extra 150 quid a month. We now need to know how long it's going to take us to save to get to that 30k, and by my calculations it will be just over 6 years. So we've knocked off almost 4 years, which is amazing. And this might be doable for some people, but for me, again, I think 6 years is a very long time and it's going to put most people off. And I don't think, in fairness to all people, no offense, I don't think most people are disciplined enough to be able to do it for that long. I don't know even whether I could. And again, I'm very disciplined when it comes to money management and whatnot. So let's look at another strategy and the next step of how we can reduce that even more, which is all about bringing more money in. So we've worked out how to reduce our outgoings, but now we need to look at increasing our incomings, our revenue, our pay, whatever you want to call it. Now, there's 2 ways we can do this. We can either try and get a new job, a higher paying job, or get a rise or get a promotion, whatever it is in the job that we're in now. But let's say we can't do that because you're at the top of the pile, so to speak. The only other thing is to either get a second job or a side hustle. And I'm going to recommend getting a side hustle going because it's always a good idea working on some kind of side hustle or business, just in case something goes wrong with your current job anyway. And this step might also feel very overwhelming for most people because most people are used to having just the one job and coming home having a certain level of energy. And I know a lot of people feel tired just from coming home from one job. So adding a second thing can be very worrying and overwhelming. But take it from someone that's got 5 businesses now. You can do it. I did it when I was trying to quit my job. I set a side hustle up and I was doing an extra 3 to 4 hours every single day on top of my very stressful corporate job. So if you are feeling a little bit overwhelmed by this step, don't worry. It's going to be difficult at first and it is a little bit overwhelming at first, but once you get going and you get used to it, your body will get used to it, your energy will, and you'll be fine. But no matter what, if you really want to make this big change and start this business and quit your job, you're going to have to do this. It's as simple as that. So no matter what, you're going to have to suck it up and just come to the realization you're going to have to bring more money in, and you're going to have to figure a way to do that in any way you can. But to ease your pain a little bit there, we don't need to any longer put in manual labor to earn. With the internet and all of the online services and businesses and products out there, we have a lot of money at our fingertips, and we can do it all from home just with a few clicks on our computer. So it's not like we're going to be going out and slaving, digging holes all night. We're just going to be turning on the computer, and it's literally going to be brain power that we're going to be using. So hopefully that eases your pain just a little bit. But let's say you don't mind doing some manual labor. You're still going to be your boss. I'm going to give you an example where you can still be self-employed, you don't have a boss, and so you can work this around your current job very easily. And some people might cringe at it, but at the end of the day, if needs must, beggars can't be choosers and all that. Sometimes we're going to have to do things just to earn that money. So this option I'm going to give you is delivery services. Something like Deliveroo, Just Eat, whatever you may want to call whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. But delivery services are very cool in my opinion. And I know people who actually ended up quitting the job and starting doing this full time because they can do 3 or 4 of these things, some through the day, some through at night, and they're earning very good money. They're earning a few grand a month, and it's covering their cost to live, and they love their life now. But delivery services is really cool because you can work it around anything. You can choose your hours, you're your own boss, and the more work you put in, the more you earn. So it's all under your control. But let's say you don't want to do any manual labor and you do just want to work from home, especially if you're tired coming back from your 9-to-5 job and you want an online business. So there are many options out there, and I've covered actually a few videos on this. If you want to take a look back on my channel, I've got 2 or 3 videos dedicated to side hustle ideas, so go check them out. But I'll cover a few here very quickly. So the first one is virtual assistant, which is becoming very popular now, especially because with the internet and we've got all of these online businesses now, a lot of people are looking for virtual assistants. And this can cover any admin kind of task, or it can go really high in terms of skills. So you can determine how much you charge to a certain extent, but obviously the more skills you've got, the more you can charge. Another idea is to become a social media manager. Now, you are going to have some skill in this, or if you've got a social media that you've been working on over the past few years and building up your client base and you can showcase your skills, then you can walk into something like this. But if you don't, then you might need to be able to set something up and work on that for the next year to 18 months just to be able to showcase that you can do something like this. Or if you've been a social media manager before, then obviously you can walk straight into a job anyway. But this can pay very well, and you don't necessarily need to work for one social media company. You can have 3, 4, 5 clients and earn a really nice few grand a month. But obviously, if you've got a full-time job, you might not want to do that. You might just want to get 1 client or even 2 clients to earn anywhere between 500 to a grand a month. And you've got things like affiliate marketing, which I'm not going to go too much in. This is where you sell other people's products on your social media sites, if you've got any. And there's Amazon FBA, which I really love. I've got a few Amazon FBA businesses, and it brings me in a very nice 6-figure salary every single year. But again, I'm not going to go too much into that. I've actually got another video fully dedicated to that if you want to go check that out. Okay, so let's say you've got this side hustle up and running now, and you can earn an extra 500 quid a month. So if you remember before, we had the 250 plus the 150 from reducing our costs. We now have the additional 500, making it 900 quid a month. So now we need to work out how many months it's going to take us, or how many years it's going to take us to achieve that 30k. And by my calculations, it's going to take around 3 years, which is much more palatable and achievable for the everyday person. So we have basically got our saving plan in place now. But there's just one more thing before I finish this video up that I want to share with you, which is a strategy on how to manage that money effectively now we've put that plan in place. So this step is all about having particular bank accounts for each area of your spending and saving, which sounds very simple, and a lot of people don't implement this because they think it's so simple. But in my opinion and my experience, it can be an absolute game changer. So what we're going to do is we're going to have one bank account per area, and this is how I break mine down. So I have one bank account for my monthly living expenses. So it's going to be my house, my phone, my car, insurance, things like that, to make sure that I can live. I then have a bank account for my weekly or monthly spend, which is going to be petrol, it's going to be food, it's going to be any kind of entertainment, anything I need on a weekly, monthly basis to be able to move around and live. I have a separate bank account for that. I also have a bank account for savings, which is what we're talking about here, although I've got two different saving bank accounts. So one saving for investments, which is what we're talking about here, and one saving for a rainy day. Now, you might not be able to have that at this point because you've not got enough money to be able to do that, but that's there just in case you do have the extra money to do it. And then I also have one final bank account for education purposes, which again is not necessarily in your remit because again, you might not have enough money to be able to save up to do that. But again, this is what I do. And to be honest, these are what all the successful people that I've spoken to do and have. And they say, and I say, I couldn't live or save effectively without this. So even though it seems very simple, put it into practice, because again, we need to be working with absolutes. And when you've got bank accounts and you're transferring particular amounts every single month, it's all managed and you've not got to touch it. You've got to stick to it for the full 3 years that we've just been talking about. Okay, so just to summarize where we are. So initially we need to work out how much we're going to need to start the business. What we're then going to do is work out our income and expenditure. And then what we're going to do is we're going to work out how we can reduce our living costs. And then if we can't save up enough or it's too long a period for us to save based on the money that we earn, we're then going to get a side hustle up and running to up our monthly saving. And then to underpin all that, or to manage all that, we're going to manage our bank accounts very effectively by having one bank account per saving and expenditure area. So that is it for this video, guys. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, saving is very difficult, even if it's just 6 to 12 months, but doing it for a business in the long term, we're talking years, it's very hard, but it is possible. If I can do it, anyone can do it. As long as you follow these strategies and take these steps, it will make it much more easier and palatable for you. So I really hope you've taken a lot from this, guys. And if you have, please like the video, please subscribe, and until next time,